as well. I've also mentioned a lot of other sources for this information throughout the video. If you could share this video, re-upload it elsewhere, that would also be appreciated, as it seems Google algorithms and YouTube censors don't much like the content I create. And for the sake of making this video short, I will begin. This is the situation as I know it in a nutshell. On May the 2nd, 2009, Brendon Oconnell went to a Friends of Palestine protest in Perth. He took his video camera in hopes of filming some of the action. This was the video that got Brendon Oconnell arrested for the first time. In his own words, he was there to hopefully film the Israeli counter-protesters who were down there last time filming the Friends of Palestine protest. One of the men that were photographing the Friends of Palestine protesters this time around was a man named Stanley Elliott Keyser, who got in a debate with Brendon Oconnell.
No. I wasn't filming you. We were standing out there. That's what I'm angry about. You took our photo. Why did you? The situation. So why didn't you come and engage us?
If you want to watch the full video of this incident, check it out on the channel on the screen. This event resulted in Brendon Oconnell being put in prison. The Israeli ambassador at the time came out directly against Brendon Oconnell as well.
Specifically, that was there were two parts to the legislation used against me. One part was Section 77, which was the most serious. That was a form of incitement, which was pretty funny. But specifically to Stanley Elliott Keyser, under Section 80B, it was I engaged in conduct likely, keyword likely, to offend, for which I received 1 year's jail.
The problem didn't end there for Brendon, however. When he was in prison, he was assaulted, had his arm broken, he was harassed and threatened by people in the prison who he believes were working in the interest of the corrupt police officers that were involved in his case. When Brendon got out of prison, he was met with criticism and accusations a couple of years later, which got him charged with new crimes that he feels were trumped up and stacked against him in an attempt to silence him. Brendon Oconnell had a lot of information that he had published previously in regards to criminal and Zionist elements within Western Australia. Conditions were put on him that prevented him from being able to use electronic devices such as computers and mobile phones as ordered by courts. In hopes of getting out of a very bad situation and regaining his freedom of speech, Brendon decided to leave the country. However, this would also mean that Brendon would have to skip bail. If you wanted to know more about the specifics of the corruption involved in Western Australia, the abuse Brendon received, or the complete legal farce that was Brendon's charges and the conditions that were laid upon him, Brendon has a 200-page synopsis available on his blog for anyone to see. I highly recommend everybody go and check it out for themselves. I truly believe that anyone who reads this in full will be truly outraged at the extent to which human rights violations were committed against Brendon. In this short preview of the Jim Fetzer interview, Brendon explains why he believes he was targeted. The full interview is available on his YouTube channel.
I think it was my combining the facts of Orthodox Judaism and Israeli high technology contracts which got them really up in arms, particularly the Orthodox Judaism which I tried to present, and they panicked. They absolutely panicked and shut down the whole trial when I tried to introduce the Shulchan Aruch and other material in Judaism discovered by Michael Hoffman into evidence. The Holocaust stuff appeared, because I did sidestep the issue a little bit. I can only say that the truth is no defense when you understand this legislation. The truth is not a defense, because you can use the truth to still incite and offend people. This is why the legislation is so ridiculous. So they could just make a value judgment and say, well, we don't care if that's the truth. We think you hate Jews, you want to round them up and gas them, and that's why you're raising this. That's all they have to say.
Brendon was living as a political refugee in Iran, where he was granted political asylum. However, due to the difficulties he faced over there, he decided to eventually make his way for Malaysia, where he was staying temporarily and promoting lots of content from. His experiences in both Iran and Malaysia is something that he has very heavily documented on his YouTube channel, and I highly recommend everybody go check it out for themselves. He spoke about many key important topics during this time, including Operation Taupiot, Unit 8200, the corruption surrounding Julie Bishop, and much more. It was during this time that Brendon Oconnell, a political dissident gaining a fair amount of attention online, wanted to get his story told in the public. He was also hoping to take this matter to the High Court of Australia, which would have been a landmark case.
Conservative Australian politician lives in terror of Israel. It's a post I did about the case, the High Court case. Watch the video, it's an 8-minute primer. I did it on March the 20th. It's an 8-minute primer to tell you why the High Court case is so important. I'm the first to get it in there. Julie Bishop, Foreign Minister of Australia, she must rebuke the Israeli ambassador to Australia. This is what they don't want me talking about. There she is with Benjamin Netanyahu, who clearly got a bit excited with Princess Julie. She was a bit of a goer in her day. I'm having a laugh about the Aussie spirit.
Brendon was one of the first people in the state of Western Australia to be charged under these new racial vilification laws. What this means is, in the future event that these charges were ever dealt with, judges may look back on these cases to set a precedent for future cases on this matter, meaning Brendon's case could be the pioneering benchmark for whether free speech is protected or punished. Political speech needs to be protected, and whistleblowers should not have to be persecuted. This is another reason why Brendon's case is so important. Brendon eventually tried to make his way to New Zealand, where he was advised by a man named Chris Paul, who told Brendon he would get a fair hearing and possibly get him on a protected person's visa. Whether this was set up or not, I do not know, but when he arrived at Auckland Airport, he was stopped by immigration officials who told him he couldn't come into the country, at which point he was arrested when he announced that he was going to return to Malaysia instead. He was taken to Mount Eden Jail and imprisoned in remand facility without any known charges. The justification for being arrested without charges, that they give at least, is that they were holding him on character grounds of which he was arrested, and the conditions he is currently in could only be considered as a form of torture, and generally when they hold people under character grounds, it usually means that they're somewhat of a threat to national security. So it seems to be all very unusual. Brendon's legal team have also tried to take this matter up with DFAT, the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade, but they have been ignored and stonewalled. No surprise, as Julie Bishop, the Foreign Minister of Australia, is very busy dealing with other lawsuits regarding secret funding of taxpayers' money being illegally given to finance Adani and their controversial mining practices. Julie Bishop is also a person that Brendon has covered in his videos and would likely much prefer that he stayed silenced, or possibly extradited back to Australia to face new charges. In a recent conversation over the phone between Brendon and someone on his legal team, he explained his situation.
Right, but if you could get onto, like, there's a guy called Nicky Hagar, he writes about my material, and try and get some people to come in when you can. But the biggest thing is that A, I can talk with you, do an interview, and put the audio out, that they are detaining us in a highly high-risk environment, totally contrary to the United Nations rules on the treatment of prisoners and asylum seekers. Alright, so Jacinta fucking Ahern is lecturing the Australian government when they hold us in maximum security facilities, no access to paperwork, no access to laptops, no access to any legal material, nothing. In fucking Manus Island, they have mobile phones, access to the internet, printing facilities, photocopying facilities, cooking facilities, and they can walk around in the sun. We can't even see the sun.
Yeah, I know. I'm going to be...
The key is that Carol opposes my warrant of commitment. That's all she has to do. And that's what she's supposedly organising. You can bring a bit of pressure to bear, but really it's up to the lawyer.
Yes, agreed. Well, I'm trying to get onto this Davis, who's the immigration minister. Okay?
Yeah, I would focus on nothing but chatting every now and again, once a week with Carol maybe. There's not much you can do. It's up to the lawyers. But for us to stay in contact, and you record my calls and publish it.
Yeah,
and so this is what they're doing. They're holding us in maximum security environments, contrary to all the rules. United Nations, I said to the judge, we're getting the transcript, we're going to get it sent to you, and the audio. I said to the judge, do you rule on immigration matters? And she said, I'm not answering that. I said, are you aware that New Zealand is a signatory to the United Nations conventions, including the United Nations